Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and everybody's here, but bad news, I'm afraid. It's getting to that time of the season. I don't want to use anything that I might have used on the NFL podcast, but, it's that time, season, it's coming to a close. But we're still here, we're still talking football, we're still reviewing games, we're still predicting games, and we're still talking news. So, nothing's changed there. Before we get into it, quick favour from me. If you've got a couple of minutes spare, please do consider subscribing. Like, share and comment. And if you do have a couple of minutes to spare, please do consider writing a review, because that's a big help to the podcast. Right, let's get going. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Quick ball before they notice.
I don't know what you mean, Andrew, and hopefully they all notice at all times. Welcome along, everybody. That's correct. It is your weekly fix of footballing nonsense for one of the last times this season. Sadly, as we're winding down as viewers / listeners to the NFL podcast will know. Andy's favourite phrase of the season's pretty much over is ripe and ready to be used at this particular time of the season. But yes, in the short time that we have left on the season, we'll still try and bring you as much news and coverage as we possibly can. And what better place to start than last week's games, which may or may not have just finished. Not to date the podcast at any point, but yes.
So, it's been an interesting old time. There's going to be ups, there's going to be some downs, and there's going to be some crushing disappointment. But for one man, and I'm not saying it's Stuart Woodmansey, but Hull City went up against Reading. Go on, tell us about it.
Well, just the casual 3-0 home win. Like, when have I said that on the podcast this season so far? Probably never. So, yeah, 3-0 to Hull, and we had a goal for Keane Lewis-Potter on 40 minutes, Alfie Jones on 53, and then just right at the death in the 4th minute of injury time, KLP again. So we had a double there, but interestingly, yeah, we did win 3-0. Anyone want to guess how many shots on target we had?
3.
That's right. So all of them went in. Reading scored no goals, had 4, so, suck it. It's a pretty even game from what I've seen. It's kind of surprising that Reading didn't give it more of a go, though, based on they needed to win to guarantee safety. Although results elsewhere that day kind of sorted out for them in essence anyway. But yeah, I was surprised really. And just for Paul, I will answer the question now before he even asks it. They were back in the home kit and they won at home. So, ha 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 ha. So yeah, that was it.
I don't want to be that guy. I did have to double check that I was looking at the right point of time. I was like, 3?
Yeah,
3?
Everybody connected with the club that wasn't in the ground had to double check that result, I think, so I wouldn't worry.
So, no, like I say, not wanting to be that guy. However, one member of the podcast definitely saw 3 goals in this game. Technically 4, but we won't discuss that. Paul, points on the board. Not as many points as we would have liked, but it's still points. 1 point for you, sir, because you predicted a Hull win. Stu, up to his old tricks, did not predict his team to win, did predict them to draw. Luckily, claws one back by predicting KLP to get a goal. Matt, you were that close. You were that close to that 2 points. Because you were like, it's 3-1. It's absolutely a 3-1. So somebody did have the foresight to think 3 goals. Weirdly, that is where your scoring ends. Which, again, I had to double check, but you didn't get the goal scorers. So just a point there for you. I had Hull down to win and Lewis Potter to score. A couple of cheeky little points there for this man. Speaking of Matt, Peterborough United versus Nottingham Forest. Matt, anything to say about this?
Well, so Forest came out with a 1-0 win to kind of get things a bit back on track from previous weeks. The finish was really nice, so I don't know if you covered it last week, but obviously in the space of 2 games, Forest went from having 3 strikers to having just the one, with Keenan Davis not looking like a bit. If we end up in the playoffs, which is the minimum now, he will be back for the playoffs. Lewis Grabban also 60 goal a season, 13 goal a season. Lewis Grabban is also out for the next 2 games. So yeah, we're left with Sam Surridge up front, and he's kind of stepped up to the mark with a nice header, like redirected the cross into the far corner, gave the Peterborough fans a bit of, you know what, as he's turned away to celebrate. But apparently Peterborough gave Forest a good match because obviously they were trying to avoid relegation. I hadn't realised up until kind of recently Grant McCann almost took 2 teams down this season. But I was like, when he came on, I was like, that's the guy who Hull sacked. Oh, he did a terrible job at 2 clubs this year.
I'd say he did a terrible job at 1 club. I think. Bear in mind, look at the last results he had for us before he binned it.
I know. Kind of being snarky, but yeah. So came out with the win, which is the kind of thing that you need at this time of the season, particularly against a club away from home, fighting for the survival kind of thing. So kind of a bit one of those kind of things where we get the win, also relegated them, which doesn't always feel particularly nice. And I think there's a kind of bit of a somber kind of thing from Forest, like when you saw the reports afterwards, like with the interviews and stuff, it wasn't quite all like tub thumping and full of that kind of thing. It was a little bit kind of somber, feeling bad that they'd kind of relegated another team. But yeah.
So here's how the scoring lines up for this one. Paul, you were close, so you got a point. But you had Forest down to win a little heavier. You didn't get the goal scorer, so that's where your scoring ends. Stu, I had you down for a draw, and you didn't get the goal scorer, so unfortunately no points there. Matt threw out another 3-1. So just a point for the Forest win. Pulling back another point, though, by having the goal scorer in amongst it. I also had Forest down to win. I didn't get the goal scorer. So just 1 point there. Can we skip this one? Because there's nothing exciting happened in this game. Nothing to really talk about. It was just one of them. We can just move on real quick. We don't need to discuss anything about this game, do we? Let's just move on. No? Any takers? No? Anyone? No? Okay. Swansea City versus Middlesbrough. Paul.
This was one of those strange games of football where apparently they only played for 45 minutes. Oh no, sorry, it's because the first half was probably the worst 45 minutes of recorded football in history. Everywhere that I was checking, obviously it was in Wales, so didn't fancy that 12-hour long round trip or however long it would have taken me. Sounded like the first half was absolutely appalling, no chances, no poise, no control, nothing like that. And then after half time, the game just exploded into life. Middlesbrough opened the scoring on, I think it was 46 minutes. The goal was a first in Borough colours for Riley McGree, although after watching it back, huge deflection that takes it out of the way of the keeper. And Middlesbrough were then on the attack to score a second and put the game to bed when Swansea broke, and about 8 seconds later they had the ball in the Borough net for an equaliser. And Michael Obafemi was the guy who scored the equalising goal for Swansea. And that's where the scoring ended, even though with about 90 seconds to go, Swansea had a break where they had a ball into the box and the guy had a clean header and just headed it straight wide. Terrible miss. Should have put the game to bed. Swansea 2-1, but missed it. And Borough lived to fight another day. So yes, a 1-1 draw at the Liberty Stadium.
So, what's interesting about this game is only one of us had Middlesbrough down to win. This guy. And I did not get the goal scorer. So no points for me. Everyone else had a 1-1 draw. Everybody else gets 2 points. Matt, Stu, 2 points is enough for you guys. That's where your scoring ends. So let's move on, shall we? Every now and then something happens where when you're predicting something, sometimes, I don't know, if you look at some people's run on the wrestling podcast, let's say, sometimes you get what's known as a clean sweep. That's where somebody gets the correct score and both of the correct goal scorers. Paul Williams, congratulations on what could be this season's first clean sweep.
Honestly, did not even remember that I'd picked McGree to score. That is outrageous.
I'd never even heard of him until the other day.
I was sat there thinking, no one's picked him. Who on earth would pick him? Yeah.
Honestly, I knew I'd picked Obafemi to score for Swansea. I'm now pissed off because it's now that case of if I'd have put the bet on that, I'd probably it'd have been just set your own odds, mate. I could have got whatever I wanted for that.
So obviously there was a conversation off air about this one, maybe at the time the game was going on, and I was like, quick, I must run and check what's going on here. And I responded with, hopefully the score changes at some point because somebody's on for a clean sweep at this point in time.
So, when you sent that through, I thought you were talking about all the games as a whole. I didn't realise you were just talking about the Borough game.
No, it was in fact just that game in question.
I see.
So, 3 games done. Let's go to the scoreboard and find out how people's weeks are going. There's a bit of a gap. Myself and Stuart Woodmansey are bringing up the rear with 3 points each. Then it jumps to Matthew Moore territory, out in front, 5 points. But thanks to his 4 points in one game, Paul Williams is winning the week with 6. Can anybody catch him? More importantly, can anybody take him down to still win the week? How do you want to play it? Do you want to get on with the rest of these scores? Do you want to move over to some sort of news? Do you want to build the tension?
I reckon we should let's just finish off the predictions from last week, shall we? Let's just get them done, get them out the way, and it's a clean slate to sort of move into the news and next week's predictions.
Lovely stuff. Fulham went up against Nottingham Forest. Matt?
So, again, for the second time in 3 days, Forest won 1-0. The goal this time, scrappy, I think is how they call it. It was a scrappy goal by podcast favourite Philip Zinkenagel. Yeah, I kind of watched it and thought, ooh, he's got a bit lucky to get away with that one. And then it would turn out that Fulham lost their shit about it at some point.
Just a bit.
I don't know. It's one of them ones where I couldn't see anything obviously wrong with the goal, but it just looked like one of them where you're like, something doesn't seem quite right about that. Normally it would get dragged back for some kind of random reason. I didn't watch it, but from kind of the reports from Stuart and Paul watching it, it was quite a fair game. Forest kind of were in it quite a bit. Fulham came back into it. Kind of listening to kind of commentary on TV and stuff like that. It was kind of like seemed end to end. But yeah, surprised. Obviously from my prediction last week, surprised. And obviously Fulham still haven't clinched they're promoted, but not clinched the champions thing just yet. But yeah, a kind of surprising result that has lifted Forest to third.
So Matt's saying that there was something that didn't feel quite right about this game. You should have given me a call, Matt. I could have told you. Paul, Fulham to win. No Nottingham Forest goal scorers predicted. Stu, Fulham to win. No Nottingham Forest goal scorers predicted. Matthew, Fulham to win. 1 Nottingham Forest goal scorer predicted, but not the right one. But if there's one man that thinks definitely putting Forest down to win this one, and then there's a certain combination of goal scorers that he goes for every single time. That's right. Nottingham Forest to win, didn't get the correct score. With Zinkenagel to score one of the goals, 2 points to Mr. Cook. So, we're down to the last game of the week. Oh, let's do this. Middlesbrough versus Cardiff City. Paul?
Yes, after the draw on Saturday against Swansea, this was must win. Well, I say must win. It was a must win to keep their slim hopes of the playoffs intact, shall we say? And they duly obliged. Cardiff not really got anything left to play for. They're safe. They can't make it in the playoffs. And they started the game well enough, but just sort of crumbled a bit and then just went a bit to sleep. First goal was scored by everyone's favourite barn door botherer, Marcus Tavernier, with what was a very, very decent strike. Actually, picked the ball up in around the middle of the park, carried it forward a couple of yards, and then just unleashed hell in the bottom left-hand corner. Poor from the goalkeeper, really. He got a hand on it, but wasn't able to stop it from going in the back of the net. And the second, for his second deflected goal within the space of 4 days, or 5 days, I suppose, Riley McGree, Aussie goal machine. What can we say? He's the new Matt Crooks. He's going to score in every game between now and the end of the season, which is strange actually, because he's in the team because Crooks is suspended. So.
That must be some sort of statistic that he's managed to have no shots on target in the last 2 games, but actually scored.
2 goals, yeah. But by the way, when you were talking earlier about the fact that Hull had won 3-0 with 3 shots on target, I can beat that. Borough once won a game at 3-0 with 2 shots on target.
Brilliant.
So that's a little teaser for the audience to try and work out how that would be the case. Answers on a postcard, and we'll reveal the answer next week. If I can remember that, I put it as a task. But yes, 2-0 win, and they're now 2 points outside the playoffs with 2 games remaining.
Paul, you had Middlesbrough down to win. Points on the board. Brings it back from the previous game to pull out further into the lead. Stu couldn't even get the technicality points because you predicted a 0-0 draw. Matt,
I mean, Paul himself will tell me that they are due, I'm sure, but we'll see.
Matt, you also had Middlesbrough down to win. Unfortunately, that is for you where your scoring ends. No goal scorers. I had Middlesbrough down to win. 2-0. I had Tavernier to score one of those 2 goals. Here it comes. Stu.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say you didn't have McGree as we discovered 5 minutes ago.
Never heard of the man. Never heard of the man. Stu, unfortunately, as you know, you're bringing up the rear this week with 3. There's a change because Matt, you are in 3rd place, just managing to get 1 more point for 6 points to finish the week. Paul, you are in 2nd place with 7 because in the last 2 games I managed to get 5 points.
Oh!
And I took the lead with 8.
It's the equivalent of having one of your players in fantasy score a hat trick and still not winning the week. Got a clean sweep, lads. What's the sitch?
Do you know something? I'd considered giving you an extra point for a clean sweep, which if I was a gentleman, I'd probably still do. But it would only then end up in a draw, and we'd have to fight to the death with I don't know, feather dusters or something. Yeah.
Well, so obviously this just means that next season, the change to the predictions is that if a clean sweep is indeed obtained, then an additional bonus point will be given to whomever it was that got said clean sweep.
People who get clean sweeps don't need any more points than they've already accumulated. That is just rude.
Calm down there, last place.
And we've already discussed.
Just because you scored more points in 1 game than I scored in 5, don't worry about it. You don't need any extra points. It's fine.
And we've already discussed draws in the past when we talked about the NFL and the fantasy kind of things there. We don't like draws. You know, this is a definitive thing. Andy wins. Once again, proving that we know nothing about football and Andy knows everything. So
seriously, so Andy's the embodiment of, like, when we were at uni. I always maintained that the girls that we live with should be putting bets on the football because they wouldn't overthink stuff. They would just basically go in and just go ding 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 and then just win. But
earlier today, I was preparing for my end of season quiz. I was like, so this is the one that's got the round ball, yeah. I think I'm good. I think I'm good to go. For any new listeners, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Paul and James Panas had a theory that doing a season of a football podcast, by the end of it, I should be able to answer a primary school level football quiz. I don't think we should test that theory. Unless the answer is Johnson and Zinkernagel, Forest to win 2-0, I don't think I'm going to be winning anything. So, that right there is the week done and dusted. So, you've got a choice. I'll let you make the decision. You're the boss.
So what I would suggest is we might as well do the predictions for the next week, and then that'll roll us nicely into the remaining games for our teams in question. Obviously, for Hull, not a lot to play for. They're safe, but obviously, the higher up the league they finish, the more money they'll get for league placing and things like that. Whereas for Borough and Forest, there's still a lot to play for.
Indeed,
definitely
indeed.
For Forest.
So, as I was reliably informed earlier in the week, 4 games to play this week. We're starting with a tale of 2 cities. One of them being Bristol, the other one being Hull. Stu, I think by now we know how this one works. You will pick last. Let's mix things up. Paul Williams. Bristol City. Hull City.
Let's go for a 2-2 draw.
Nice. Scorers.
I think there'll be a solo effort from everyone's favourite, Coldplay singer, Chris Martin.
Okay.
And Andreas Weimann. Look at his little face. And then for Hull, he got 2 last week, so just give him 1 this week, called Keane Lewis Potter.
Okay.
And that's a name I've not seen before. Let's have a go for Regan Slater.
Might as well put the ref down to score.
I'm sure, is he youth? Is he academy or?
He's just not had a decent run in the team. I don't think this year. I think he's been sort of plagued with injury, is how they put it. So I don't think he's had a successive run. It's been alright when we've seen him, but I don't know. So, stick the lino down for an assist, and then
Matt.
I have also gone for a draw, but just a 1-1 draw. Gonna have a beachy kind of booking your flights, all those cliches that come this time of year. Getting ready in the queue at
flip-flops
Manchester
instead
Airport.
of boots.
Pardon?
Flip-flops instead of boots.
Yeah. Working out how they can queue for less time at Manchester Airport when they're trying to get their plane out of there, all that kind of thing. They've got one eye on the queue at Manchester Airport. They're going to be there for 12 hours. All that nonsense that's going on at the moment. So 1 each. I've also gone for Weimann, and just to get all the mans in, I'm going to go for Honeyman because he hasn't scored for a while.
You've kind of gone with my thinking there, Matt, because I've gone with a Hull City win, just a 1-0. I went with the other man, the long man. Stu, how's your team playing this week?
well, firstly, I'm going to put this out there now, and we'll come to it again next week. But if the amount of times that Matt has predicted George Honeyman to score, and he hasn't scored for a number of games now, if he doesn't score this week, he's nailed on to score in the final game of the season. And regular listeners, and by Matt's face, may be able to guess who we might be playing. So, in this particular game, however, I have gone for half of Paul's prediction, in that Hull will be clearly on the lash, and therefore Bristol City will win 2-0 with Weimann and a shot at the speed of sound from Chris Martin.
Lovely stuff.
We covered the music gag, but I said a great solo effort. What are you doing?
Come on, look, you can have more than one joke per podcast.
He had a rush of blood to the head.
Yeah. Like the thing is now though, Andy's just going. I've got no idea of any Coldplay songs that I can throw as a joke.
Come to the wrong.
There's a new podcast.
Some might say he's stuck at square one. So.
That was embarrassing. Middlesbrough versus Stoke City. The city of Stoke. Let's see. Who am I going to pick on? Stu.
I got a 1-1 draw out of him last week. I'll get a 1-1 draw out of him this week. So I've gone for Watmore to score, and he better do because he was cacked tonight. And then I am unsure if this is Madja or Maya for Stoke, but I'm assuming they're not trying to make America jammy again. But that is the spelling.
I like what you've been putting down there, Stu. I went a little bit different with my prediction. I've got Middlesbrough down to win. Just about 2-1 to Middlesbrough. I've also gone with Watmore. I've thrown Balogun out because I felt like he was having a bit of a run and then it's gone quiet, so it's about time. And I went with Campbell, and then I was like, is he still there? And now Paul's going to tell me he's not.
Just from listening to a podcast the other week, he might be injured. I'll just have a quick look and see if he was in their squad earlier in the week.
While that's going on, Matt, why don't you give me yours?
I'm busy giving it the old Google and thingy as well, because I've gone with because Stoke have been making a bit of a habit of pissing on people's playoff parades recently, so I've gone for a 2-1 Stoke win.
Ooh.
Balogun for Borough and Brown and Campbell for Stoke.
Paul, can you confirm or deny?
I don't know if he was injured, but he came back in the last game because he came on in the 95th minute. So
lovely.
He's obviously fit enough to be on the bench, so he's perfectly legitimate as an answer.
Speaking of answers, what is your answer for this game?
I'm going to have to give my guess, or my prediction in hope rather than expectation, because what else have we got at this time of the season? So I'll go for a slender 1-0 home win.
Yes.
Again, to keep the playoff hopes alive.
Love it.
Could have to go for McGree by a deflection, I suppose. Seems to be the way. He'll probably be in the right back slot covering, and he'll clear one upfield that'll just take a wicked bounce or something and go over the keeper's head.
A gusty day at Teesside.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful stuff. Nottingham Forest versus Swansea City. I was going to do a thing about how all the teams this week are playing a city, but So, anybody want to guess what I put down for this?
2-0.
2-0.
Zinkernagel and Johnson.
Hey! Next. Paul. Oh. Forest 2, Swansea, Johnson, Zinkernagel. Love it!
Stick me down for the Sims.
I love it. I'm starting a trend. I'm gonna get a T-shirt.
Obviously,
I'm gonna get a T-shirt printed up.
So I wasn't like paying attention there and was like, hang on a second, why has he picked a guy to score who's not even in that game? Was definitely looking at the wrong fucking game.
Which I'm going to have to change my last ones now after the information Matt revealed before. So,
Paul, what have you got for this then? 2-0 was that? Johnson.
1-0 Forest.
Love it.
Swansea look like they're a bit of a spoiler team at the minute, so I think they'll just sort of like go to like try and kill the game, just sort of. Plus, it's Cooper's ex boys, isn't it? So they'll probably want to not necessarily give him an easy ride, so to speak. But yeah, I reckon Forest have just about enough to break him down. Fuck it, I've hated him all season, so let's go for a Yates goal, just to really sort of like, you know, grind my gears some more.
Matt.
Well, as listeners will know, and you gents will know, every time the optimism kind of pops out, then the pessimism washes over, and you know, with the prospect of joy, the pessimism of 20 years of absolute dog shit from Forest has returned to niggle at me. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw. So I just think Swansea they score goals. I think that's the thing that worries me. They score goals. So I've gone 1-1, Johnson and Perot.
Lovely stuff. Now then, at this point in time, we've got another game to predict, but due to technological advancements going in reverse, it's probably a good idea to build the tension for what that prediction might be. Take a small break, come back fresh, refreshed to predict that game, get straight onto the news, and put a lovely bow on it. So we will be back momentarily. Be right back.
Recording in progress.
There you go. So, after a refreshment break, we've got AFC Bournemouth going up against Nottingham Forest for our last game of the week. I mean, I'm not even going to say what I've put down because I don't want to jinx it at this point. What if I ruin it? So let's move on swiftly, and we'll just work on the principle that my prediction is in the book. Stu.
okay, so I have Bournemouth 1, Nottingham Forest 2, and for Bournemouth I have got Billing. And I've had to switch things up, as I said, for prior information. So I have gone for Johnson and everybody's favourite shithouse, Master Yates, to score.
Paul.
So this is the rearranged fixture that was cancelled because of storm. I get it on the view.
No, this is when all the stadium fell down, and then all of a sudden they couldn't have a team, and they were blatantly playing the system.
Yeah. So this is like you'd like to think that this is where karma finally catches up to tactical wizard Scotty Parker. But from a neutral perspective and from a Sky Sports wanting to broadcast the game perspective, this could not have gone better. Really, let's be honest. A game that pits the two other automatic promotion hopefuls against each other. I know Huddersfield are in the mix as well, but it's really between these two for who gets the last place. last 5 games, Bournemouth have done their best to throw it away. I'm just having a look at their stats for the last 5 games. So they have had 5 games. They have, over the last 6 games, 4 draws, one of which came against Middlesbrough, a loss to West Brom, and they beat Coventry. I really, really, really want Forest to win, but I think it will be a draw. I just think that the last 2 games in particular, Bournemouth have scored equalisers in the 90th minute plus.
Not only that, they were 3-0 down against Swansea, and then
fair play to him, because it would have been easy for him to just keeled over and just lost that game. But to battle back from 3-0 down, fair play to him to getting the point. But yeah, I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Scores.
I'll go for Solanke to score for Bournemouth, and it's everyone's favourite podcast bingo moment. It's the curse of the old boy. I'll go for Sam Surridge to score for Forest.
Matt.
I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Lovely stuff.
I just 23 years it's been since Forest were relegated from the Premiership, and obviously we've been down in League One for 2 or 3 years. I just can't see it. I can't see it, and I can't build up my hopes for it. So I just think the tactical wizard, Scott Parker, we take the piss continually. I think he will set the team up to draw. We've got the same goal difference. They've got it. I think he's just going to set the team up to draw. But as last night showed, they concede goals. So I've gone Solanke and Moore, because of course he fucking would, because he's got the same surname as me. And Surridge and Yates for Forest.
Lovely stuff. That rounds out the week's predictions. We're doing that now. It's like, what's that? What's that over there? Looks very familiar. Looks like the end of the season.
But if Forest and Borough are in the playoffs, another few lovely weeks of it.
Yeah, but it's that situation where Forest don't want to play Borough at any point in the playoffs because they'll lose arguably like their sort of their main attacking threat. Well, not attacking threat, but their outlet, I suppose.
Yeah, but I suppose I was going to say if Forest didn't go up, they probably would end up playing you.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how it sort of falls and stuff like that. If Borough manage to sneak in and Forest are third, I mean, like obviously if they don't go up, Huddersfield could still sort of sneak third.
Yeah.
Being interesting podcast week, there'll just be me and Andy with the popcorn in the other boxes, whilst you guys are like.
It's who has the bigger breakdown. That's going to be the thing. It's not going to be like going at each other, kind of like. It's just be like, oh God, can you remember when this happened? Yeah, I'll see your whatever, and I'll raise your Yeovil.
What'll happen is it'll be the first recorded game in history where actually both teams do indeed lose the game.
They'll just all collectively drop trow at the 5th minute of injury time and just collectively shit themselves in the centre circle. Like literally just protest in all 11 players and the managers just centre circle.
Yep. But it's both an ideal situation and an absolute nightmare scenario would be Forest Borough playoff final, because I just absolutely hate that. Because I know exactly how it'll go, and Matt will say the exact same thing but in reverse.
Anybody else just seeing that now being brought to life in front of your very eyes? He said it,
We're going
didn't
to
he?
be like live streaming, aren't we, if we don't go?
Borough have to get in the playoffs first. At least Forest have actually got a playoff spot nailed on. For Borough, I still think it's an outside shot. But
I don't want to jinx this, and I'm really sorry, Matt, if you think it brings bad stuff. I still think Forest will sneak it. I don't think they'll be in the playoffs. I think they'll just go up.
The only thing I can go with is, and this is when I'm like, oh God, don't do it, is that hopefully the players that absolutely crap the bed at the end of not last season, the season before, where they should have been in the playoffs, whatever went on against Stoke in that last game of the season happened. The ones that were playing in that game, hopefully they've learned that and that are still at Forest. You know, Worrell had an absolute meltdown in that game and the Derby game before. And hopefully the rest of the players that have played really well this season weren't part of the team then. But I don't know. The run-ins are what they are, but you could talk yourself into Swansea this and Swansea that, but they've had a decent few run of games and the way they've played. And Bournemouth's running is more difficult than Forest's. But
just that added wrinkle though of the fact that they've had to play each other now as well is just like that to me. That I think after that game midweek, so by this time next week when we're on, I think we'll know by that point. To me, if Forest win that game, like we might as well go on to then spoil it. But like the Forest's last game is then against Hull. Saying about our last games, we have Bristol City this weekend, as we've discussed. The highest Hull can finish is one place further up the league table, which if they manage that, will be by going higher than Bristol City as it stands. So Hull genuinely have one place to play for. Are they going to give a crap? No, because every single member of that team, unless they are George Honeyman, possibly KLP, and very few others, don't have that much chance of staying, I don't think, next year, unless they've got a really long contract already and it'll cost too much to pay off, because the owners clearly have, for Hull, already have one eye on the shopping bag. So I can't see Hull doing anything against Forest last game at all. So if Hull are going to give it a go, it's going to be Bristol this week, and if then Forest manage to pick up that result against Bournemouth, I just can't see it going a different way at the moment.
The question becomes, if Forest do get the results that we all hope they will, does Matt take a trip through to Humberside a week on Saturday?
Unless he's going to sit in the home end, no, because they have sold out their away allocation.
Yeah, I'm going to put it out there. If he does, he's not going to be the only Nottingham Forest fan in the Hull end.
I would suggest that is also true.
Annoyingly, I would definitely be there saying we all need to go to this game, but I am already in London that weekend.
Well, I saw on one of the forums earlier today, should we really piss off the Forest fans by telling them that we're not even going to open the West Stand Upper for that one?
Well, you don't want to be in the West Stand. You don't want to be in the West Stand Upper. It's quite far to get on the pitch from the second tier of the stand, isn't it? So.
And you definitely don't want to jump and break anything.
If there is part of the stadium shut, you can guarantee that Forest fans will go nuts about it, because if there's one thing that Forest fans love to crow about is the away support and how many people go to away games and we can fill your stadium kind of thing. So
What they should do is they should adopt the Kilmarnock approach that they did a couple of years ago when Celtic could win the league. And apparently what they did was, so even though it was Kilmarnock who were at home, 3 of the 4 stands filled with Celtic supporters.
Christ.
So, and I think, I don't know for definite about this, but I'm pretty sure the one stand that was left still wasn't full.
See, if it was me on badness, I'd go the other way. I'd be like, nah, 500 tickets, that's a lot.
Give them as little an allocation as possible. Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing that, like we've said before, the thing that's going in Forest's favour is the fact that Bournemouth's running has been horrific. I think every single one of their games from about 7 out to play was all against teams in the top 8 or something like that. So they've not had any easy games. I know they beat Coventry 3-0, but they've had a horrific run of fixtures to end the season.
The thing for me is just the quality that they've got in that team, because obviously they've got a lot. They had decent players coming down, and then they spent money as well twice. So when obviously they bought Kiefer Moore on last night, he wasn't even starting, and he just came on and scored 2 goals. And just think right, okay, then we can't compete with that unless somebody makes a miracle recovery in the next week or 2. Well, not week, day or 2. Yeah, I don't know.
So just throwing this out there though. So worrying about Kiefer Moore. Who are they playing again?
Swansea.
Yeah. He's going to have had a bit of extra motivation for that game, surely, being the fact that he didn't go there from Cardiff this season. So he'll have been dick off then the second step foot on the pitch.
Is he Welsh? Well, I know he plays for Wales, but technically Welsh.
I think he's one of those. He's one of those ones. He's Welsh because he once had a family holiday there in the 1990s or something like that.
Likes rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He do you know what I mean? He came from their main rival, didn't he? So the fans will have been going after him the second he lined up for the sub. So
there you go. Kiefer Roberto Francisco Moore, born 8th of August 1992 in that lovely little the lovely little quaint Welsh village of Torquay, England.
It's not far, just across the water, isn't it?
Tucked away in Devon's south coast. I'm trying to see it must be his parents or his grandparents.
I presume his parents are, because that's a Roberto kind of thing. I presume it's like those Italian Welsh, like Joe Calzaghe and...
So here we go. So according to Wikipedia, so obviously he could be a huge heaping pile of bullshit. Moore is eligible for the Wales national team through his paternal grandfather, who hailed from Llanrwg. The Chinese Football Association, however, had tried to get contact with the hope to get Moore in the Chinese team, using his maternal great-grandfather. I didn't think they could take it that far. I thought it had to be...
I thought his grandfather, his grandparents...
Grandparents was the furthest they could take it. Because, I mean, if we're going to go that far back, you could just say that, everyone's eligible for everywhere because, we're all God's children. Etc., etc.
I mean, you could say that, but absolutely, please don't.
Well, yes. So I'd say from a perspective, it's arguably game of the season, shall we say? So, fingers crossed. Let's just hope it goes in Forest's favour. Outside of that, the PFA, not the PFA, the Championship Team of the Season was announced this week. I have it in front of me, or I did have it in front of me, and I've lost it somewhere. So we had, I believe the goalkeeper was the keeper with the most clean sheets, which is Lee Nichols of Huddersfield. There was basically, I think, 4 players in from... Hang on. So there are 4 players in from Fulham. Understandable. They're top. They're probably going to win. They're probably going to win the championship.
And you're not telling me that Mitrovic wasn't the first name on that sheet?
Why, has he done anything special this season or something?
Well, just what?
Just had a typical championship season for him.
just one goal and then 40 alongside it, just to sort of like. So yes, we had one player in from Huddersfield, 4 from Fulham,
Bless you.
3 from Bournemouth, and 3 from Nottingham Forest.
You're going to read them out?
So we had Lee Nichols in goal. We had
I don't care about the others. The Forest ones.
The 3 defenders were Tosin Adrabayo, Liam Kelly, and Joe Worrell of Nottingham Forest. Then we had left back was Anthony Robinson. Right back was Middlesbrough's Jed Spence. If we want to go for that. Then we had a midfield pairing of Philip Billing from Bournemouth and Ryan Shithouse. Oh, yeah, there we go. Ryan Shithouse Yates from our good friends at Nottingham Forest. And then the front 3 was Harry Wilson, and behind the top scorers, Dominic Solanke, and of course the aforementioned Alexander Mitrovic, who was named as Championship Player of the Season. Shock. And then, controversial opinion, Manager of the Season was given to Nathan Jones. Granted, yes, he's got Luton into the playoffs with a very, very thin squad, a lot of injuries, but no one can say that Cooper's not done the best job this season.
Yeah, well,
just as a little kind of golden kind of nugget for people who, I mean, maybe not for Derby fans, but watching Derby fans lose their stuff due to the fact that Rooney didn't. Boy, he did a great job. If we hadn't had the 21 points taken from us, we'd be in this position. Yeah, but you did, didn't you? So kind of thing. But I was surprised that Nathan Jones had won it. I know he's done a good job with not very much money and stuff like that. But the fact that Forest were 7-0, to use the American football terms, when Steve Cooper took over, and they were rock bottom. To take them where they are now is, I don't know how that is not Manager of the Season.
Crazy. I mean, if they do end up sort of getting the points as well to get them over the line in second, I think they'll look back and think, yeah, I think we made a bit of a boob there. To be honest with you,
it's nice that he's got an award for his football and managerial career, because he was a shit wrestler. So you're welcome.
Yeah, okay.
I know that was really niche, but I couldn't resist.
That's kind of all I had from news stuff, really.
Because the thing about the powers that be have finally decided that people shouldn't be naughty anymore, so they've got people to regulate, haven't they?
Yes, I've not seen much about this, but yeah, an independent regulator is about to be appointed to look at football and say, you need to do more about, not being a naughty team.
Yeah, it says the government. This is from Sky Sports. It says the government has backed the key recommendations made by Tracy Crouch. Don't know if she's any relation. In her fan-led review of men's football in England, reforms are to include the introduction of an independent regulator and greater powers for fans in the running of clubs. However, unsurprisingly, the Premier League not so keen on this. Wonder why that might be. Newcastle. That's. It's good news if things are going to be a bit more open and effectively fair, but we'll see how far it goes, because the bit I picked out of the article later down was that it says that an integrity test will also be introduced for all owners and executives. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't that been a thing, or supposed to have been a thing, for years now?
Yeah. Every time they take over, they've got to go through the fit and proper persons test, and you're like, yeah, that guy's got weird links to people in Russia. He's been the owner of Chelsea for 20 years. He's now no longer the owner of Chelsea because people seized his assets because of who he associated with in Russia. All right then. The Saudi Arabian group have got a kind of, a strange history that people don't...
A sketchy past, you might say.
Be careful what you say, gentlemen. You never know where the next carrier bag's coming from.
Just about to say, Cookie Cast does not support the
But yeah,
I'm just highlighting points that have been made by other people.
in the past, if this integrity test has not been a thing and it has been labelled as the fit and proper persons test, then the only way that some of those people have got by, if they've gone, yep, they're a real person, yes, they can stand up and walk to the other side of the room because they are fit and therefore a proper person. Welcome to the football club.
And yes,
they carry a
that
big
is a
bag
massive
of
bag of
as well.
cash. Thank you.
So yeah, that was. It feels like quite an important thing that the government are sort of, for want of a better expression, sticking their oar in. But at least for once, it's kind of rightly so. But yeah, that was kind of all I'd picked up really from this week, because the only other news is that the remaining relegations were obviously confirmed, weren't they, in the Championship? So it's bye bye Peterborough and bye bye Barnsley as well. Never mind. I have a real thing about Barnsley, because Oakwell is one of them weird places where Hull play when if they need a result they get absolutely hammered, and if there's nothing to play for they'll win 3-0. I hate that ground so much.
It's a weird one because Borough have lost on several occasions at Barnsley, sometimes very heavily. I can remember a couple of 3-0s in my, at least in my time of supporting Borough. I've been twice and Borough have won both times. So I should probably sort of say that to the club and have some sort of standing agreement that every time they play that I just have to be given a ticket. Just for the good of the club, not more than anything else. But yeah, Barnsley almost sort of inevitably almost to be replaced by Rotherham in their usual sort of season on, season off swap of divisions.
We'll keep them number of Yorkshire clubs at a certain level.
Yeah, but looking from a League One perspective, that's still kind of wide open. As they go into their final day is this coming Saturday. Wigan are pretty much up, although they can still be pipped by both Rotherham and MK Dons. So if Wigan lose heavily, Rotherham and MK Dons can both go up automatically. But it's looking like it's 2 from 3 for the automatic promotion. And then the playoffs is a bit more murky because it's basically Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland. It's basically Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, Plymouth and Wickham, 3 from 4, depending on who wins what game. That'll be interesting to see who comes up and replaces Peterborough, Derby, and Barnsley for our games for next season, if we're still in the Championship.
Any other business, gentlemen?
Do you guys go through Eric Ten Hag being appointed Man United manager last week? That was fun.
I think we covered it a little bit. I think
it was. I don't think it was necessarily confirmed, but it was like all but, wasn't it? I think this time last week. I was going to say we talked about Forest's running games. I mentioned Hull's. Like, what's it looking like for Borough in terms of?
Well, obviously they had their game in hand with Cardiff tonight that they won. Mm-hmm. They play Stoke at home on Saturday, and they finish with a game away at Preston.
Preston are up there as well at the moment, aren't they?
They're mid-table, nothing to play for. So you'd imagine that.
But they've been on a bit of a goal scoring run.
They got tonked on Monday night at home though.
I've just had a little look, and the team that Borough obviously got to try and overtake is probably Sheffield United.
Yep.
Sheffield United's last game, Fulham at home.
Yeah. So ideal situation would be that Fulham don't win their next game, but they'll probably have already won the title anyway. But the hope is that Fulham won't just give up and just go in on their jollies in the last game of the season, and they can get something else at Sheffield United. Sheffield United also got to play QPR this coming Friday, so by the time that Saturday rolls round, Borough will know whether a win will either get them into the playoffs or just keep them in touching distance to Sheffield United. So we'll have to see what happens.
Because then, presumably, then if they both do the same this coming week, they just have to better the result on the final day.
Yeah, so obviously it's 2 points currently is the gap. So yes, if they have matching results this coming weekend, they'll still be at 2 points. Ideal situation is obviously Sheffield United lose, Borough win, and then Borough have got that 1 point cushion and they're sort of in the driving seat really to get in the last playoff spot. But it'll go to the last day. Well, I say that it'll go to the last day unless Sheffield United win and Borough lose. In which case, don't dust.
Exciting stuff. So there we go. Another week of games gone, another week of games predicted, all the news in the bag. And that's that for this week. End of the season is looming. Matthew.
I've got, just very, very quickly, I've got a little funsies one. Walsall have just sold their naming rights to their ground to Poundland. So their stadium is now the Poundland Bescott Stadium. Very apt if you've ever been, which I have. It's definitely the Poundland of football stadiums. So yeah, just that little note there for congratulations, Walsall. You've now taken the mantle of the Kit Kat Stadium or whatever Bootham Crescent was. You've now taken that, Sports Direct St James's at St James's Park or whatever that. It's now taken the new level of Poundland Bescott Stadium.
I seem to remember back in the day when Leicester moved into their new stadium that apparently wasn't there a rumour doing the rounds that they wanted to call it the Walker's Bowl, and then someone pointed out you can't do that because everyone will just call it the Crisp Bowl.
I think that was just a general kind of snort, like a general kind of fans taking the piss kind of thing, and it was a bit like the Colin Bell stand at Manchester City. But this is real. This is BBC News as the source.
Fake news.
There you go.
I mean, I know it's money and it's all like going to go in the club coffers for that, but like,
what? Yeah, what, a whole pound?
Well, yeah, but surely at some point, like someone at the club just has to go. Is there no way we can sort of put it on the back of the shirt or something like that? It's just like, oh, come on. But yeah, the tin pot springs to mind, sadly. But
You'll be devastated when their shirts aren't £1 when you go to the club shop,
or just in Poundlands across the nation.
Well, there you go. That's that. That's a lovely one to end on, right there. Thank you from me to these gentlemen for taking myself and these lovely people through the sometimes I was gonna change it, but sometimes murky waters of the football world. Till next week, when that horizon comes that little bit closer, we will see you then. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and goodbye. So there you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another week of games gone, another week of games to come, but not too many more, I'm afraid. What will we do with our time? Knitting, maybe? Before you go, do please consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you've got a spare moment, please do consider leaving a review. Also, you can check out our website, it's cookiecast.com. Over there we've got social media links and an email button for you to get in touch with us. So there we go, another football podcast done. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.